Welcome to JSC's Flying, and today we talk about a possible fix for the boot problems, especially with NVMe drives in the classic Mac Pro and the newer versions of macOS Big Sur. So this tutorial is for all you guys who already work with OpenCore, which enables macOS Big Sur or even Monterey on unsupported hardware. If you're new into this and you want to know how you can do that, I suggest you grab my tutorial, which explains everything, how you can set up your unsupported hardware to run the newest macOS. If you've come across boot loops, hangups, and general boot problems, especially when you're using NVMe drives or SSD drives that are connected to PCI Express cards, the possible fix is called Late Bloom. It's just a driver file, a CAXT file that you add to OpenCore that just causes intermittent stops in the boot process. So it slows it down a little bit. And this tutorial will be split in half. First half is the easy way, the automatic way, because the good news is that the OpenCore legacy patcher in the latest version already includes the Late Bloom fix. So I just talk you through the steps necessary, and I will do it on a USB drive, which for you, I already advise to do it first on the USB drive and then boot from that drive to see if everything is working. And then you just do the same steps again on your macOS drive. Second half of the tutorial will be how to enter and add this driver file manually in your existing OpenCore config so that you keep your config plist file and you keep all your settings and just add this driver file to see if it helps booting up your device. So let's start with the easy automatic way with the OpenCore legacy patcher. That's a great tool. I love it. And it's also found on Dortania's website. I give you the link down in the video description. And if you click on Getting Started, you have a full blown up tutorial and guide how to use that. I will talk you through all the steps necessary, and it's really very few steps. And the first one is to build and install OpenCore. And if you click on that, you find the link here for the latest legacy patcher release. This opens up the GitHub page of Dortania, and you see here the latest version now is 0.2.4. And what we are looking about is, you see here that it implements the Late Bloom CAXT. If you scroll down a little bit, you have a GUI and a TUI. So what is that? The TUI is a text-based UI and the GUI is a graphic UI. For this tutorial, I will use the TUI, the text-based patcher. You can also do it with a graphic part, but everything happens in the background. So it doesn't matter which one you choose. I will choose the TUI just to explain everything better to you. So if you go to the downloads, there's a zip file. You just do a double click and it extracts the patcher. And if you now just start the patcher and you say open, then you see the patcher with the text-based UI in the terminal shows up. I will just enlarge this so you can read my screen better in the video. And you see it's the OpenCore legacy patcher 0.2.4. And as I'm running on a Mac Pro 5.1, it's already the selected model. You can change the model if you type number 4, and then you can change to whatever unsupported model you want to use, because OpenCore normally is to run unsupported hardware with Big Sur. Doesn't make any sense to use like a Mac Pro 7.1 that supports natively the Mac Pro Big Sur to use OpenCore for that. So we are on a Mac Pro 5.1, and the first one is we hit one we say build open core. So what happens now, it just downloads everything. Let me scroll up a little bit. So you see OpenCore 071 release is entered and all the driver files. And you see here LateBloom 019. That's the latest version that's included in the legacy patcher. It's included. And then you see everything is set up for a Mac Pro 5.1. Okay, we just hit enter and now we have a folder where everything is downloaded and set up for my device. Next thing is we hit number 2, install OpenCore, and you see here either to USB or the internal drive. Then all the disks are being read that are in your device, and I already inserted a USB drive. So you see here I have a flash disk 16 GB, that is the USB drive. So I hit 6 and then it asks for an EFI partition. And you see here the likely candidate, that is the EFI partition of the USB drive. So we can hit 1, enter. And then because it needs administrator privileges, you have to enter your password. And then you see it's removing the pre-existing OpenCore folder and copying everything on the USB drive. All right, so just hit enter and then you're done. Just leave the USB drive inserted, restart your Mac. If you keep Option pressed, you come to the boot selector, then you select the USB drive with the EFI boot, then the new OpenCore version with the LateBloom fix will load, and then select your hard disk and boot and see if it works. So in the second part, let's talk about adding the LateBloom driver manually to your OpenCore config. And also you find all the links down in the video description. Here in the forum, Syncretic, who invented this fix or this workaround, also updates the LateBloom Kext driver file every now and then. So the version 0.2 while doing that video is the latest version, because 0.2.1 is experimental. I wouldn't recommend using this. There's some more testing needed. So if you click on the link, it will bring you down to the latest post. And when you scroll down here, you see the attachment. There's a zip file. Just click on it and it downloads this zip file. Okay, same procedure. We do a double click on the zip file and we have the Kext file itself. So there's one more thing we need that makes it quite easier to integrate this Kext file. We need proper tree. That is a nice tool to edit your config plist. Link is down in the video description. So you come to the GitHub repository of proper tree and you just click on the green code button and you say download zip, and then you get this tool as well. There it is, double click, and you got the proper tree master, they call it, the folder here. And next we have to do is we need the USB drive where we test the new LateBloom driver file with your actual config. So to mount the EFI partition, we go to the Launchpad, Other, and then we say Terminal. Let me just enlarge it a little bit. You can read. Okay, and then we type disk util list. It shows all your hard disks and partitions. What you're looking for is external physical, because the USB drive normally is an external drive. Be sure to check the size. This is a 16 GB USB drive. And then we need the EFI partition of that USB drive. And you see here the identifier is disk6s1. You remember in the first part of the tutorial, for those who didn't fast forwarded it, it was the same, disk6s1. And that's what we mount right now. So we say sudo, because we need administrator privileges, dyskutil mount disk6s1. Then it asks for your password. And then you see volume EFI on disk6s1 is mounted. Okay, now we want to add the late bloom Kext to the USB OpenCore config. So we do a right click or a control click on that and we say copy. And then we go here on the left side, you see the EFI partition has shown up because we mounted it. You click on it, then there's the folder EFI, the folder OC for OpenCore, and there you see your config plist and all the other stuff from OpenCore. There's a folder Kext. If you go into that, you see some Kext files, and that may be different depending on which configuration you use. But here we just do a control click or a right click and we say paste item. And then we copied the late bloom Kext file into our OpenCore config. The problem is it won't be recognized by only copying it here. So we go one step back into this folder and now we have to change the config plist. Okay. Before we do that, we should do a backup of that file. So if you just make a control click or right click and we say duplicate, then we have a config copy plist file. That is our backup from the original one. And now we need the tool we just downloaded. So I go back to downloads and we need proper tree. We go into that folder, proper tree master. Let me just enlarge it a little bit. And we just use propertree.command. If we make a double click, you have to give him the security rights to open that because it's a script from an unidentified developer. Okay, so we open the system preferences. Let me just zoom it a little bit. We go to security and privacy. And you see here that proper tree command was blocked from use because it's not an identified developer. We just click open anyway. We say open. And you see we have a terminal command that opens this script. And here in that window, we have proper tree. So let me just zoom in a little bit. So in the top menu, we say file, open. And then we click here on the EFI partition, folder EFI, folder OpenCore, config plist. And you see the config copy plist, which is our backup, is still here. So we are in the right folder. We say config plist and we say open. So now we're in the config plist and we can just close with the little triangles all the main entries here, so we get it a little bit nice and tidy. And then we go to the part where it says kernel. Okay, and there's a subfolder. Let me just get this a little bit nice up here. We have add, block, emulate, force, patch, and quirks and scheme, and we need the subfolder add, which means which Kexts, which drivers are added to the kernel during boot. And when we open add, we see here a lot of numbers that may differ from your system because actually there are 6 drivers loaded, 0 to 5. And when we open up the 0, you see Lilu Kext. Let me just go into the Finder, EFI, OpenCore, Kext, where we have been. And you see there is the Lilu Kext, which is represented here as 0. With 1, there is the whatever green Kext, which is here. So you will find all your Kexts in the config plist because otherwise they won't be loaded. So what we just have to do is to add an entry into the config plist for late bloom Kext. You can either do that manually when you just click on add and you say right click or control click and you say a new child under add and you type in everything manually. You can just copy more or less all the options that you find here under the other ones, but there's an easier way. If you go up here to File and you say OC snapshot, ProperTree will scan the directory and add every text it finds that is not in the config plist yet. It asks for the open core directory it should scan. So we just go to FE, OC, and we say choose. And then it asks, enable the following disabled parent texts. So this one is disabled, but it found the text file. So it asks if I should enable it. We don't want to change anything. We say no. The new config plist is all open up. We just close everything again. Okay. And kernel add has now 7 entries from 0 to 6. And number 6, you see here, is late bloom text. So now you have inserted this text into your config plist. You see number 0 is still Lilu text, number 1 is still whatever green text, same as before. We just entered as number 6 late bloom. To prevent late bloom from loading in a macOS Big Sur that is older than 11.3, where the problems arise, we can go here to the min kernel, make a double click, and then enter 20.4.0. That is the kernel version of macOS Big Sur 11.3, and that is the minimum where it's loaded. So it wouldn't affect any macOS older than 11.3. So we need one more step to have it implemented into your config plist, and therefore we have to just close everything and we go to the boot arguments. All the boot arguments are here under the point NVRAM, and when we open this up we go to add, and then you see cryptic keys, and you just have to check where you find the value boot args. Here we see it's in this one, so I just close this, and let me just get this a little bit up here. You see there are a lot of boot arguments. They may differ from yours, but we have to add the late bloom boot arguments. And you can configure late bloom, how much stops it should do, how long the stops should be, and all this. So therefore, we go back to our late bloom forum website. Let me just zoom out a little bit, where we downloaded the zip file. And here in this post, you see that there's a boot argument that's called lbloom. And the syntax is here, lbloom, delay, range, and debug. The values must be all decimal and maximum of 4 digits. Okay, there are some examples down here. So you could enter this one, lbloom equals 90, 20, 1. That means there's a delay of 90 milliseconds with a range of 20. So it can go down to 70 and up to 110. And the debug mode is on, which means it gives you some messages when you have the verbose mode on. So if we go back to the very first post and you go down here, you see, let me scroll a little bit, the user reported results. Every system like a Mac Pro 3.1, 4.1, upgraded, patched 4.1s to 5.1, real 5.1s, all the results the user had. And you see here like 200, 20, and 1. That means 200 milliseconds, 20 milliseconds spread, and the debug mode was on. So you can get to your system down here, Hackintosh, iMac, whatever, and try some of the values that already worked with some users here in the forum. Okay, so we will just enter the values that the legacy patcher will use. Okay, so we go back to our proper tree. We are here at the boot arguments and just do a double click here and we go to the far end where the last argument is, and then we write in space L bloom equals 251.1, enter. See here, L bloom equals 251.1, and you can just fine tune that values to your device. Then we go up here to file and save. Then the config plist is saved. And then we can do the restart, select the USB drive, FE boot, then select the hard disk and try to boot the device from this open core version with late bloom with these values and see if it works.